My take on planning theory is that it's extremely crucial element to the institutionalization of planning as a field of practice. In other words, theory functions as the backbone of the planning practice to justify its planning tools and methods. For instance, rational planning emphasizes the idea of value-neutral technical expertise, far away from the dirtiness of politics, that can allow experts to solve urban issues in scientific way. On the other hand, tribal practices in the Omani context stresses the decision-making power of the tribes and the ownership of the land that have shaped the urban fabric through time. Tribal members are the best planners of their ancestry lands as they clearly understand the local needs and the limitations of the land from the environmental point of view. With these two competing planning traditions, I claim that transactional planning has the ability to bridge the gap between the imposed Western rational planning of the state and the tribal practice of the local tribes in Oman. Transactive planning emphasizes the social learning process that can facilitate the exchange of knowledge between the planners and the residents. As a practitioner who was involved in the master planning on a national scale in Oman and managing the construction of infrastructures such as power plants and desalination plants, I can see the connection between the theoretical aspect of planning and the materialization of these concepts on the ground. For instance, rational planning has informed all our planning methods at the Supreme Council of Planning to create regional master plan for each governorate in Oman. What makes the SCP so unique? Its formation outside of the political structure of the civilian government and its reliance on international experts to lead planning. These two unique conditions satisfy the regional planning theories required to make the SCP planners as an effective in-house experts. For example, during the summer of this year, I get the chance to be part of the Oman National Spatial Strategy Project, ONSS, which is part of the SCP. I was working with a group of international experts in a variety of fields, such as transportation, logistics, economic development, and land use and zoning. Those international experts hardly know anything about Oman and rely solely on their long experiences somewhere else, such as Europe, Korea, or America. The scientific approach of the SCP give us the ability to sit behind closed doors and think about endless possibilities to reshape urban forms and envisioning new economic activities based on cost-benefit analysis and forecasting methods. Unfortunately, local communities were only testing subjects in our studies with no voice in the planning process and the decision-making procedures. On the other hand, I came from an urban tribe that has historically built Muscat City according to historians. Al-Wahaibi tribe has designed and built the old city based on tribal traditions and Islamic teachings. For instance, the souk, the traditional bazaar in Matrah and Rui, is meant to be narrow to provide enough shade for customers and security for women who traditionally work in business. The souk narrow alley ends normally with a mosque or jama in Arabic as the gathering space for announcements as well as for learning and praying. This is an example of what I call tribal planning that has employed centuries of knowledge building about urban spaces and was augmented by Islamic teachers. More importantly, tribal planning is as scientific as modern rational planning employed by the SCP, and Liwa village flood system that was built centuries ago is a living example of that. The flood system is built ecologically with the flow of wadis, which is dried river, that normally floods during the raining season. They have allowed these natural wadis to pass through the city to discharge in the mangrove colony by the coast. The local tribes use the wadi's bank for farming due to the availability of water and create a buffer of no building zone. Interestingly, the SCP experts, after studying the floods system in the village, found out that these green buffers act like a modern day floodplains buffer that protect the village from flooding. Equally important, they stress the importance of the mangrove colony in the village as a very crucial thing to observe flooding wadis during raining events. It also serves as a buffer to slow down the seawater invasion of land and the salinization of the fertile soil of the village in Al-Batina plain. I believe that transactive planning should be employed by the SCP to promote social learning process and knowledge exchange with this century-old planning practice that has shaped most of the urban fabric of Oman. Currently, I am working with the ONSS to facilitate tribal engagement and negotiation to learn from each other and jointly develop a strategic planning method for the nation as a whole. Lastly, urban planning as a field is very unique, which is unlike any other discipline, which encourages planners to seek alternative knowledge in search of possible solutions. The uncertainty behind planning practices make it a rich field of exploration, with the acknowledgement that social forces are consistently reshaping its theoretical understanding over time. In light of that, I truly believe that tribal planning has the potential to change the course of planning in Oman by starting with transactive planning methods as a medium of exchanging knowledge and mutual understanding.